For many of us, our life decisions are influenced by social norms and family expectations. We're told to go to college, get a degree, start your career and a family, and leave the world a better place than how you found it. All great options, of course, but there is something to be said about the risk takers who chart a different course to make their lives and the world a bit better. The folks who choose trade school or start a business out of the trunk of their car, the folks who forego what everyone else was expecting and just create their own path. So, how do you beat the odds and become successful when you know you've just got to do this your way? We're talking about it today on Portia. Hello and welcome to the show. You know, they say you can either find a way or make one. And my first guest has truly mastered the art of making a way. Sheila Michelle launched a successful health and drug testing enterprise despite the many obstacles she encountered along the way. Please welcome to the show, Sheila Michelle. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm great, and it is great to have you. Now, before we talk about what you do, I want to talk about how you got here, because this was a long road and journey for you, right?
It absolutely was.
Tell me how things started. I understand there were some troubles in your early life in terms of the things you were surrounded by.
Absolutely. So I was born to a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old. So my parents were literally kids when they conceived me.
Right.
And so what that ultimately led to is a life of moving between friends, families, I was in the Fulton County Shelter for Children. I was in another home called Open Gate, and the Salvation Army home as well. So I did know my parents. I did spend much of my life with my parents, but I also, had patches, right?
Right.
Rough
and folks who
patches.
had to stand in the gap.
Yeah.
When your parents, who were just so young,
Absolutely
could not. And then let's talk about some of the other things that you ended up being exposed to as a result.
So my home is College Park, Georgia. And what used to be the public housing is some of it's been replaced now. Much of it's been replaced with some of the airport expansion. But I grew up essentially, among a lot of substance abuse, drug and alcohol. It was so commonplace that I don't even think anybody knew that there was something wrong.
So at a very young age, you were seeing a lot of people use and abuse drugs, because we understand there was a lot of challenges in the communities, right? People were going through hard times. Crack was in the neighborhood. There was a lot that you were seeing as a young child.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is even back in the day when people would put beer in the baby's bottle so the baby could go to sleep, right? And I do remember, when I first became aware of crack cocaine, and, I lived in one household that I lived in. People literally would be walking all night. There would be all this traffic in and out. There would be arguments, over the drugs, over even the lighters, as an example.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is what you knew. I mean, you saw drug trafficking on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But what were you thinking? Because I understand there was something and you were like, okay, this is what my life looks like, but this is not what my life is going to be like.
Absolutely.
How old were you when you made that realization that this doesn't have to be how I'm living?
Well, I think I knew that at 5 years old.
What was it about 5? How did you know that at such a young girl?
I can still recall this. I remember being on the floor and just writing all what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to be a professor. I wanted to be an educator.
You had dreams and aspirations.
Yeah.
Where did those come from? Who did you know? Who did you see who was sparking that light in 5-year-old Sheila?
Honestly, probably nobody. I mean, I think that, I'm very faith-based, and I think that what God has for us to do, He plants the seed and we construe it as our own goal or desire. I did have a godmother, and, whenever I was in her presence, she always assured me that I could do anything and I could be anything. But I mean, I can really tie it back. I still remember that day like it was yesterday, and I was just 5 years old. Yeah.
Wow. So then tell me, how did that impact you in terms of your ability to, focus in school and try to stay out of trouble and not end up using the same drugs that were so pervasive and available around you?
Yeah. So I think that it didn't take long for me to realize that I was quote unquote smart. Because that's when it was like not cool for Black people to be smart. If you were smart, you were acting like white person.
Right.
That was not cool, right? Nothing. So it stood out. I was in the talented and gift programming in school and, different things like that. So I knew I had that going for me.
Right.
Because people focus so much on what I didn't have going for me,
right.
Big forehead, pudgy nose, thin hair. Kids are mean.
Yeah. I'm having flashbacks as you described. Yes, people were mean. Teenagers can be mean. I don't want to leave out the fact here that you do have a son. And you had a son pretty early on as well, but still said, I'm going to focus. I'm going to make this. We're taking a picture of you with seeing a picture here and your son.
Yeah. So that's my son, DJ, and he would be turning 32 years old January 15th.
Yeah.
He was murdered. This is 8 years. We're coming on 8 years. And it was drug and gang violence related. And so I got pregnant at 16 and, I just was always a responsible person. I don't know. I mean, abortion was on the table. Adoption was on the table.
But you wanted to keep your baby and raise
I
him.
wanted to take responsibility. So, I knew I wanted to be somebody and I could, but I just never really made those moves. So I dropped out of high school. I wasn't going to school because I couldn't get my hair done like everybody. I didn't have the clothes, I didn't fit in, right? And so I dropped out of school, but once I got pregnant, I just pulled myself together and I ended up actually graduating ahead of everybody in my class.
That's how you do it. What a wonderful model of resilience. You've got such a powerful story. We're going to continue to hear how you have lived up to this legacy and how you honor your son when we return. I know this is hard, but I'm grateful to hear your story and share it with others. All right. When we return, you're going to hear more from my first guest and how she is really persevering through some tough times and has become very successful in a really competitive industry. We'll have that story when we return. Stay with us. Hey, so you like the show? Then let's connect on social media. Check us out on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Portia TV Show. Hello and welcome back to the table. Today's conversation is about creating your own path to success in spite of the odds against you. Sheila Michelle owns and operates a national drug testing and clinical lab. And I know that the loss of your son is part of what influenced the work that you do with drug testing, but it was also the inspiration of your book. Let's talk about the book, Resilience, how appropriate.
Yes, so the book is Unbroken, and it is about helping you build a legacy of resilience. Coming through substance abuse, getting over teenage pregnancy, having a domestic violence, marriage, all the things. And a lot of times people are like, how do you do it? And most of the times I can't really answer that question. And so this book, Unbroken, is about how I actually do it.
So just as we talk about all of these things that you have laid out here, how did you start your career in drug testing with everything that you had to go through? Obviously, we understand what sparked it, but how did you do this?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is global and domestic technology. So we pay the people and we pay the bills, accounting, HR, all of that stuff.
Okay.
And so I really took my 25 years from some of your favorite companies, what's now Southern Company, Cox Enterprises, Truist, many big players and Big Four Consulting, and I put it into this business. I just took what I had.
Transferred your skills.
Transferable skills.
Yeah. And so now you own a business where you do COVID testing, drug testing, all kinds of clinical operations, right?
So it originally started as this location, occupational health in College Park, Georgia. And so we had, partnership with a nurse practitioner. And we could do, she could see people for, minor things. And then we also had our drug testing, DNA testing, as well as, COVID testing when COVID hit. But what we found was an opportunity through a business coach to share this as a business opportunity to others. And that allowed us to expand from just being in College Park to actually being able to support employers 24/7 and nationally.
Which is amazing. Let's talk about your, as they call it, aha moment. How did you get to the point where with everything else that you were doing had overcome, you said, you know what, I can do this. I can create this. This isn't just for, the big businesses with lots of money. I can do this.
Yeah.
Where were you? What happened?
Well, so the grief from losing my son, coupled with all of the things that go on, the bureaucracy of corporate America, just really became too much for me, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to get a drug test for a contract, and in that moment, all the lights flashed and everything came together. It was so linear, small space, seemed so simple, and I immediately thought, I can help people get off drugs. I can help people keep jobs. I can help people get better jobs. I can keep families together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you had a vision there. What else you could do with this? Because when you pass the drug test, you get the job. You get the job, you can provide for your family, and you can make better circumstances for others.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's talk about the mentorship program that you have now too, as a result of the work that you have been doing and wanted to do to mentor other women.
Yeah. So once I began social selling this, right, I was just like, I just want to help everybody. I just want people to know, I lost DJ to drug and gang violence, right? I want people to know they don't have to kill people for drugs. I want people to know that they don't have to sell drugs. This is literally a business that I used my corporate experience, but I didn't have to, because truthfully, much of what I was doing were things I learned being a secretary. And no diss to being a secretary, but I'm just letting you know it's that linear, right?
Yeah, the life experiences, all of them, from what you saw as a little girl to what you did as a teenage mom.
Anybody, you can have a criminal record. You cannot have a degree. Now, I'm not saying like you don't need something, but I'm just saying, right?
Right.
And so
the conventional path isn't always for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I took it to social media. It caught fire. And then what I started seeing were people struggling. And so I learned that it wasn't enough for me to just tell Portia how to launch a drug test center and a clinical lab, but I also had to talk to Portia about expanding her mindset, about thinking big, about tapping into her God-given purpose, about owning her life and making it everything that God has for her.
That's how we beautiful got to mission. And I love that that's what you're doing. When I think of the image of 5-year-old Sheila, that's so beautiful. So beautiful. All right. We're going to talk about how you are inspiring other women. And coming up, you're actually going to meet one of Sheila's mentees. Her name is Candice Ray. And she is taking the medical field by storm by doing things her way as well. You're going to find out how when we return. Stay with us. Hello and welcome back to The Conversation. We're having a really candid and incredible conversation with health enterprise mogul Sheila Michelle about charting her own path in mentoring other enterprising women. And joining the conversation now is the CEO and founder of Helping Hands, Warming Hearts, Candice Ray. Candice, your life, your business is all about helping others and doing good for others, but you've had some hard times getting to this point as well, right?
Yes.
Explain.
So I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I went straight to Temple University during that time. Worked while I was going to school as well, interned at an insurance company. Kind of felt like, I can do this without having to go to school. So I dropped out of college at that time.
I'm sure the family was like, you doing what?
Very disappointed. Quite embarrassing because my mom made sure she told every, person in my family about, how disappointed she was of me. So I decided to go back to school, but I did night school at that time.
Okay.
So I went to St. Joseph's University, received my undergrad in healthcare ethics, and got my master's in healthcare informatics.
Wow. And what are you doing? First of all, congratulations.
Thank you so
and what
much.
are you doing now?
So I am the CEO of a healthcare enterprise, Helping Hands, Warming Hearts. It's a few businesses. So I have a home health agency, provides skilled and non-medical care to seniors and those with disabilities. I have a home delivered meals company called In-Flight Cuisine. So we provide home delivered meals for seniors and those with disabilities. I also provide transportation to those population as well. And I added the occupational health component, which is the Helping Hands, Warming Hearts screening, which I learned from Sheila.
And I was just going to say the lessons that you have learned from Sheila in terms of the hardships and how you turn the triumph into a testimony must be amazing, right?
Yes, yes.
Tell me more. How has she sort of helped you, especially on the hard days? Because I know there's some hard days in this industry, right?
Yes. She made me think bigger than I ever thought I could imagine. So I had one major corporate contract, but she made me think even bigger, to think about government contracts and corporate partnerships and corporate sponsorships, and just knowing that, like, I can do this, like it's, when I found her online and went to her class, it was intriguing because I never seen girls that look like me in the lab and clinical lab field and drug testing field. So it was something different. It was something new. It wasn't a cliche. So I felt like if she can do it, I can do it. And I felt she just resonated over line, and she's everything she said she was.
Wow. Sheila, first of all, how does that feel to hear? I'm wondering how 5-year-old Sheila is hearing how you have influenced women.
Yeah, affirmed. Just affirmed. And I'm really grateful because, you can do business with anybody, but you don't want to do business with anybody. So having clients like Candice was already successful, right? She was already successful. And so being able to be the cherry on top.
Help get across the finish line.
Exactly.
So what is it that you say to women, and especially women who may be watching and have the gifts, have the talent, have the drive, but have some things that are still standing in their way? Sometimes it's just emotional. Sometimes it's the woman in the mirror, right? If we're honest. What is it that you say to help women get to the next level of their own personal goals and success?
I think you need to always ask yourself, this came to me last night, do you belong on the level that you're on?
Tell me more.
For example, Candice was already successful, but when she was prompted with doing more, the doors opened, the sky opened, and more became available.
Yeah.
But you got to ask yourself that question first.
Right.
You got to challenge yourself.
And I feel like do you belong on the level you're on is also challenging you to say, it's time for me to do better, or it's time for me to level up my skills so that I really am operating at the next level. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And so that's what Unbroken is about. Unbroken is a book that, anybody can pick up and change their entire life with it, because I'm just still that girl from the projects, right? With the parents who were still kids, right?
Yeah.
The teenage mom, the mom of 4, the divorcee. I'm the woman that, when January 15th comes, her oldest, her first child, the one that she did everything in life for, is not even here anymore. Yet, God has afforded me the opportunity to connect with women like Candice and pour into them,
inspire,
so that they can do what? Pour into the community.
Yeah. You feel empowered to do the same for others?
I think the biggest thing that she really taught me is the mindset shift. We think we can do something, but you really have to change your mindset, the people, places, and things, the rooms that you're in. So once you look yourself in the mirror and change the way you think, everything else is just execution.
Mind, set, shift. Good words to end on. Sheila, you're such an inspiration, and I'm so excited to be able to tell both of your stories and hear the lessons that people can learn from you, and as you as well, Candice. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you for having me.
I am inspired. All right, we'll be right back. You know, it's women like Sheila and Candice who remind us how important it is to be bold and brave enough to try something you've never done before and then do it again and again and again until you've paved your own path to success. It is an honor to share their stories, and I have a feeling you'll want to watch that conversation again. So be sure to tune in again tonight on Fox Soul and be the reason why someone smiles today.